So this is Starry Night, one of Vincent van Gogh's most famous paintings, and today we're going to make a program that's going to create this painting with a cool paintbrush effect. And we're going to do it in JavaScript. And I'm going to code it using open processing. It's a cool website where you can just code right in the browser, and it's going to show you everything that you code immediately. The first step that we have to do is import the image, the Starry Night image that I had up. So I'll make a variable. And then I have to add a function called preload. This is how you load the file into the open processing sketch. Equals load image. This is a processing function that takes in a file name. It's going to be starry night.jpg. And of course, I have to change this to regular variable, not a constant. And then I'm going to import the image. It should show up over here. And starry.jpg, that's right. Let me change this into image starry night, the name of our image file, 0, 0. These are the XY coordinates of where to place the image. So I want it in the upper left corner. And press this play button. And it's going to show us the image as well as this ellipse that was already there. So what we want to do is have just a blank canvas here and have our mouse be the paintbrush that paints the image. So how are we going to do that? What we're going to do is we're going to have a paintbrush as a single ellipse here, and then we're going to have a bunch of other bristles for our paintbrush that are going to be around the center point of the brush, randomly like this. And we can make how many bristles that whatever we want. It won't matter. But we're going to have each one of the ellipses get drawn instead of the one ellipse for the center. Since we're going to have a number of bristles, we're going to need a bristles array. Let's do bristles equals empty array. And in here, let's create for loop to initialize the array. Let's do 100 bristles for now. We can always change that later. And for each time, it's going to add something to the array. And what goes in here? Find out. Get rid of this because we don't want to show the image yet. What's going to go in here is a new object. Let's call it bristle equals. So we need some properties inside of our object. To go back to our image, this one, the picture image, we're going to have a center, which is the mouse X and mouse Y location of our mouse over the canvas. And these other bristles that are randomly placed left to right, up and down around the center. So what we need is an offset from the center. And this is one of the properties we're going to add, offset X, and it's going to be a random amount. Let's say negative 50 to 50. So the X amount is going to be the left and right randomness. Offset Y is going to be the up and down randomness from the center. And what we're going to put in here is our bristle. So getting down to here, we're not going to just draw one ellipse. We have to draw all the ellipses for the bristles. So we can even copy this for loop here for our 100 bristles. And we're going to draw an ellipse, but it's not going to be around mouse X and mouse Y. That's going to be the center. What we need to do is get the bristle X and bristle Y. Bristle equals bristles I. So the one bristle in the array, and what we're going to do is make some more variables. Make it more clear. Bristle X equals mouse X plus our bristle.offset X. And then we'll make another variable for bristle Y equals mouse Y plus bristle offset Y. So mouse X and mouse Y is where our mouse is going to be, and wherever our offset, that's going to be from our random location around that center. So we're going to change this from mouse X to bristle X, and mouse Y to bristle Y. So 20, let's leave it at 20. No, let's do 5. We can always change this later too. And we have to make sure that the bristle is the right color for when it's placed over the image. So what we can do is we can say fill. This is how we fill the color ellipse. We can say the name of our image, starry night dot get, and then bristle x, bristle y. So what this does, this gets me the pixel at this x and y location, and the pixel of the image is just a color. So it says, get me the pixel color at this location, and we're going to use that to fill the ellipse. Let's see what it looks like now. All right, we got our image looking okay, but you can kind of tell here that there's some color here that we don't want. Let's move this back up to 20 and I'll show you what I mean. So all the bristles here have black outlines. So we can get rid of that in processing by just saying no stroke. Stroke just means outline. It's going to have all the bristles without the black outline. Back down to 5. All right, looks pretty good. But I think it's more of a spray paint effect because it just has the dots and they're not really drawing brush strokes. What I mean is that we have our bristles like this and they get updated each time I move the mouse to some other location over here. But that's not really what really happens when we have a paintbrush. When we have a paintbrush, what we have is a spot where it starts and then an endpoint, say over here. And it draws a brush line that connects the two. So we can draw the brush as a line, which is more realistic. And the way we're going to do the lines is that it's going to have a starting location and an ending location for one frame. So all the code I put in draw is going to be a single frame, and then it loops again to draw the next frame. So this is my starting location on the left, this blue circle, blue ellipse, and the ending location for the frame is this orange one. By the next frame, I want the starting location to be the same spot the last frame ended. So here, and then when I move my mouse again, it's going to be at some distance, and it's going to draw the next brush line. So here for one frame, and then the next frame, the new starting point is the last brush point. We go back to the new one. So it's going to look like a brush line across the canvas. So we don't just want to do ellipse now. Now we want to have a line. So we want line. And what goes in for line? The line is going to have a bunch of xy coordinates. xy, then x2, y2. That means in the bristle object over here, I need to keep track of the start location. So start x. And I can initialize it to mouse x. It won't really matter because inside of the draw function, it's going to be updated, and you'll see that in a second. Start y. I just need to track this so I know the starting point for each line that gets drawn in the frame. The first start location, bristle dot start x, the new property I added to my object, dot start y. And what's the end location? The end location is going to be bristle x and bristle y. Over here to bristle x, make this bristle y. After I draw the line, I want to make sure that I update start x and start y on my bristle object. So what I have to do is say bristle.startx equals bristle x. Bristle.start y equals bristle y. And what this does is effectively make this code. So it draws one line, and the orange spot is the bristle x. And then that's going to be the start location for the next line that gets drawn to make a paintbrush effect. I only want to draw the paintbrush when I press the mouse down. So that's really simple in processing. I can say mouse is pressed. When I have a line, there's not a fill color for a line. There's just the outline. I can't have no stroke anymore. I want to have stroke. This is the color of the outline. Originally it's black, but if we set the color with the stroke function, it can be the color for the bristle X and bristle Y where my mouse is currently over. You can also set the stroke weight, which is the outline weight. And let's say for now it's going to be, let's say 3, I don't know. So I'm dragging the mouse, you can see the lines that get drawn. The bigger the lines, the more the color looks streaked out, because the distance between the start and end point is bigger when I move the mouse more quickly. Right? And if I move more slowly, you can see more definition in the painting. So to make the paintbrush a little bit more concise, we can take the stroke weight down and then change the number of bristles in our brush. I'll say num bristles equals 200. Let's just do 500. Just go all out, right? So I can change num bristles, or not change it, but add that and replace 100 with our num bristles variable. So we're going to have more bristles with a weight of 1. So it's going to be more concise. So each bristle won't cover up more than 1 pixel. And we have a lot more definition now. And there's one more feature we can add, that when I make larger brush strokes, I want it so that the stroke weight of the bristle is going to apply more paint. And that'll make it more realistic. So for instance, if I swipe really quickly, the lines are the same thickness as if I go really slowly. So I want it to have it bigger brush strokes, more quickly I go over with the mouse. So how do I do that? I have to have the stroke weight dependent on some value and not just have it a 1. So to do that, I have to figure out the distance between the start point and the end point for the brush line that's drawn for each frame. So for instance, pretend this blue circle is the start X and Y for the bristle at the start of the brush stroke. At the end is over here. So if I was moving the mouse very quickly, it would draw a line from here. So what's the distance between the 2 points? It's going to be our old friend, the Pythagorean theorem. It's going to be x squared, well, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So I can say variable distance equals math.square root. I'm going to have my 2 math.pows here. That's short for power. I'm going to take that and square it. Comma 2, so I'm going to square it. This is the exponent, 2. And what's this going to be? This is going to be the difference in x and y. Over here, I'm going to say bristle x minus bristle dot start x. So now that I have my distance, I need to add that to some factor. I always want to have at least a brush stroke of 1, but I want to make it larger. Make it a function of the distance between the start and end point. So it'll be distance times what? So let's make a brush radius. Oh, I should say bristle radius, actually. Bristle radius. Let's make a new variable up here. So it's going to multiply the distance. So the value of the stroke weight is going to be dependent on how big the distance is. If the distance is larger, meaning I move the mouse more quickly, the stroke weight is going to be bigger. And let's say 0.5. Let's make some bigger strokes. All right, that's too big. So let's make our bristle radius factor. Let's make it 5 times smaller. If I go over it more slowly, like I'm doing delicate painting, it's going to have the detail there. So that's Starry Night in JavaScript. I'll put a link to this sketch so you can do it yourself. If you want to know how to do this in Python, Java, whatever language, just let me know in the comments. Until then, happy painting.